Hi! On the Woodpecker today, I'm making another urn. My nephew's dog is quite old, so he asked me if I could make an urn for him. I know keeping the ashes of a dog is strange, but this gives me the opportunity to make an urn that could be modified for a person. To make it a little bit special, more than just a cube, I will make curved sides and top. As usual, I'm going to use Aspire for this, but I'm going to use only tools that are available in VCarve, which is a version with fewer options. After making a square to the size of the sides, I put a dome shape in the center. I make it bigger so it covers the entire square. Next, I give it an initial height and change its height so it will fit inside a 25mm thick piece of wood. Here we can see a preview, but this preview shows the entire surface of my working job. To really see what this will look like, I need to make the tool paths. The first path is the roughing one. After making sure the job will be done at the right place in my piece of wood, I can calculate the roughing pass. Now I'm ready for the finishing pass. I begin by selecting a ball nose router bit, and without changing any settings, I calculate the finishing pass. This is what this will look like. The last thing to do is the profile toolpath. Since the peripheral is lower than the top of the material, I can start the cut lower. But I need to choose an end mill for this. Since I don't want this to move during the cut, I add tabs. Now I'm ready to calculate this. Here's a preview of the sides. This is exactly what I'm aiming for. But I also want a curved top, just a little like the sides. For this, I make a new sheet. Since the urn won't be square, I make a rectangle working job. My idea is a rectangle with curved sides. To help me draw this, I add some guides. Their positions can be anywhere, but I think this will be what I want. With those guides, I can draw curved lines between the inside corners and the center of the outer guidelines. Done. But before going any further, I hide the guides. Select all the lines and join them as if they were a continuous line. The rest of the operations is just like what I did on the sides. With one exception, I elongated the round dome so it can cover the top. This is a preview of what the top will look like. Now it's time to go inside the shop and surface all the wood I will need to make this urn. When I'm done, it's time to screw one plank on the CNC and make both sides. I begin with the roughing pass. When this is done, I switch the bit again and make the exterior cut. Then it's time to redo all the same operations, but this time it's for the top of the urn. For the base, this goes really fast, because it's only a profile cut. Now that I have all the pieces for the urn, it's time to cut them free and clean the tabs. Then, with a soft interface pad, the curved parts can be sanded. But I'm still missing the front and back. Those thin planks will go in those grooves, but they are just a tad too thick. Now that they fit inside the groove, before gluing them in place, I give them their final sanding. But to stay in the round theme, I make a roundover on the front of the sides. Now I'm ready to glue this. I just have to wait for the glue to dry. This is what the urn will look like. Not bad. I like it. But it's missing something here. I will put a dog carving and a plaque with her name. For this, I go on the Design and Make website, where you can find thousands of pre-made CNC models. If I search for dogs, I find hundreds of them. This one is a winner. I check in 3D if I'm right, and since I like it, I take it. This means another Aspire session. This time the job dimension is the same as the space I have in front of the urn. The first thing to do is to import the dog, scale it down to the right size, and put it in place. Then I draw a rectangle. Since the piece of wood I'll be using is 10 mm thick, and I don't want the nameplate that thick, I will have to remove some wood. This rectangle is exactly for that. Then I can put the plaque I want inside this rectangle. After making sure it's in the center, I write the dog's name. Here's what the front of the urn will look like. But I still need to take care of a couple of things before heading to the shop. Like adding an initial height to the dog and making sure its total height is under 10 mm. I also need to give the plaque a decent height. Before making the toolpath, I need to trace a vector boundary around the dog. This boundary is made of two parts, but I only need the exterior. So I ungroup it and delete the one inside the legs. Next, I make an offset. This will be a hole to help the start of the carving. But I only need the bottom part in this. So I trace two lines and remove the unwanted ones. But I still need a boundary, so I make another one. Now I can make some tool paths. The first one is the starting hole for the dog. After making sure the cutting will be at the right place inside my piece of wood, I can cut the starting hole with the same bit that will carve the dog. The carving will be able to begin inside this space without any problem. Next comes the finishing pass. After choosing a 0.5 mm tip bit and removing the one that was already there, I can calculate this. This is a preview of what the CNC will carve. But I still have the plaque to do. For this, I begin by removing some wood. Then the V-carving. Finally, the sculpting of the plaque. But a 0.5 mm bit is way overkill, so I change it for a bigger one. This is another preview of what everything will look like. But before I can make this, I need some cherry wood. Now I can begin. The first thing I do is to remove some wood for the plaque. Then I change the bit for a V-carve one and write the name. Finally, it's the plaque itself. After a last bit change, it's time to sculpt the dog. When it's done, I still need to free the plaque from the piece of wood and sand it a bit. But the dog is a disaster. No sandpaper will be able to make it right. This is because I sculpted it in the same direction as the wood grain. I never carve my Christmas ornaments in this direction. It never worked. I make another file, but this time around the cutting is done perpendicularly to the wood grain. While the CNC is working, I'm giving some roundovers where needed and do the final sanding. I also need to add 2 small blocks, so it will be possible to screw the top in place. Now they need to be glued inside the urn at the top. The dog is done. You can see the difference between a vertical carving and a horizontal one. After a light sanding, I can glue both pieces in place. To do this, I use instant glue, which allows me only a few seconds to apply pressure with my fingers exactly where it's needed before it sets. For the dog, it's the small paws. But it's not done yet. The whole box needs to stay together. For this, I begin by drilling 4 holes at the bottom of the sides. To find where to drill into the base, I will use those nails after I cut their heads off. After putting the nails into the holes, I can center the exterior on the base and push on them. To spot those indentations quicker on the drill press, I blacken them. But to remove the nails, now I really need some tools. After drilling the holes, I can check this. It's perfect, but screws like that are not very classy, so I will use some balls that I have on hand. I begin by drilling a hole to the size of the screw, then a shallow, bigger one for the end of the screws. I'm missing the holes into the top. Now, with all the holes done, I can assemble the urn. I think my nephew will be happy. If not, I'm really pleased with the result. The last thing to do is to spray some lacquer. I begin by cleaning it thoroughly. Then I apply the first coat. Wait a full night and scrub the finish before spraying a second coat. Now that the lacquer is really dry, I can assemble the urn. Looking at it, I find it's a shame to use such a nice urn for a dog. But it's too small for a person anyway. I hope you've enjoyed how I made this urn, and maybe I've inspired you to also make urns. It's easy and quick to put together. As for ourselves, we will see each other soon in the next episode of The Woodpecker.